Welcome everybody to the X Factor podcast. Today we are live here on this Friday afternoon, and then, as you know, the WWE draft is tonight. I will be reviewing that tomorrow, but today we're going to be reviewing the first round of the NFL draft. It was a very fun draft this year. This year was one of those drafts that you never knew what was going to happen. We haven't had one of those in years, so we're going to get right into it here. The first pick, Panthers did select Bryce Young. I think that was the most obvious right there. Is either him or C.J. Stroud going right into it. As Bryce Young, he brings a lot of QB talent, of course, to Carolina. He's also going to help that roster, try to get up to the promised lands like every quarterback wants to do. And, since they got their quarterback of the future now, and based on everything else they added in the offseason, new head coach, Von Bell, Miles Sanders, Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, and etc. right there, they have a really high chance on making the playoffs next season. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do make the playoffs because how much they have improved in this offseason. And Bryce Young, he's just going to help everything right there, so. Second pick, C.J. Stroud. There was a lot of tension in the last couple weeks over this pick. I think everyone was just overthinking it. I think C.J. Stroud going 2 here was the right decision. So, there was not really any thought about, in my opinion, there was no thought, it should have been C.J. Stroud all the way. So, C.J. Stroud with the pick. He's going to be great for the Houston Texans. They're slowly building their way back up now, up in their rankings, but that's a good start to start the draft. The third pick, it was supposed to be Arizona, but they traded away that pick to the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans gave up this pick, or their 12th pick, and a first rounder next year, and I believe a fourth rounder next year, and then Texans got back the third overall pick, and then I think a fourth this year. They were pulling off Madden moves pretty much right there to get the third overall pick. I was really shocked when their name came up on the board from Arizona. But I had a weird feeling what they're gonna do. So they were able to get Will Anderson. Will Anderson is now a Houston Texan. Houston Texans got the second and third overall pick. Boom, Will Anderson goes there, and now they have a franchise for a defensive side, and they got their franchise for the offensive side. I'm gonna be really excited what they do with the rest of their draft picks because they still got 12 draft picks in this draft. I believe they got 11 in next year's draft, and they still, they still have a first rounder next year because of the whole Deshaun Watson trade. So, like I said, Houston's looking really good right now, and with adding Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud, it's just gonna upload everything. Everything's gonna unhold right here next season for them. I'm having a feeling. Fourth pick, it was the Indianapolis Colts. People have been wondering what they're gonna go, but they went with Anthony Richardson here with this pick. I feel like it was the right pick. With Shane Steichen over there in Indianapolis, he worked with Jalen Hurts, got him to a Super Bowl. Almost MVP caliber. He's got an MVP caliber right there. And then, Anthony Richardson, he's same height as Cam Newton. He runs like Cam and Jalen Hurts. So, if Cam Newton and Jalen Hurts had a love child, it'd be Anthony Richardson right there. And I feel like, and there's gonna be concern about his interceptions. He only played 13 games, all that, but that could all be fixed in, preseason, all that, and throughout next season. Because I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. They have potentially the shot to make the playoffs, but they're gonna need some work. Based off, what they see from Anthony Richardson, he's gonna need some work, but I feel like he's gonna be really good next, in his career with Indianapolis. All right, next pick. Seattle really shocked me here. I thought they were going to go Jalen Carter, but Jalen Carter ended up dropping, and Davon Witherspoon with the 5th overall pick, corner, looking for their next Richard Sherman, perhaps, right there. Davon Winston, I was really shocked seeing him because I thought all day, I'm like, Jalen Carter, he has to be that right pick going right there. And no, apparently the maturity issues have really, really concerned them, so they decided to go Witherspoon. Um, they need to stop. They need to stop the run. They're one of those teams that really need to stop the run, and yet they did not get a guy who can. They got a guy who's physical, a guy who can. If you don't need to worry about if you need a corner blitz, he's your right man to go there. I've seen some film on him doing stuff like that. So, David Winston, I think it was a good pick, but being ranking last against the run last year, it's a questionable move. But either way, they're going to be able to stop the pass next year. So, right there. Detroit had the 6th overall pick, but they traded with the Arizona Cardinals, which was Houston's pick, and Arizona was not on the clock, and they went, and I thought that's where Jalen Carter was going to hit. I had Jalen Carter going like the next 3 picks after Seattle did not, take him. But Paris Johnson shockingly came off the board at that spot. Well, when they said it, I was a little shocked. And then like after you think about it, they need offensive line. And Kyler Murray, he already talked about getting offensive linemen with the Arizona Cardinals. He was one of the guys that requested this, help. And Paris Johnson's one of those guys who can really help with the offensive line. And I feel that they're going to probably add a little bit more into the draft in this next couple rounds coming up later on today. And Paris Johnson, man, he is one talented man, let me tell you. He is a tackle I haven't seen in quite a bit here. And he's really going to shake up that offensive line. And, if Kyler needs to move somewhere, if you need Kyler to run, boom, Paris Johnson can be that blocker. So, that's a perfect pick for them. 7th overall, I had Jalen Carter going here after, he's been getting passed up. But Tyree Wilson was the pick for the Las Vegas Raiders. I am not... And I said this last night. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I think Tyree Wilson's going to be the Trayvon Walker of this draft class. He's going to get hype before the draft, but he's not going to hold up to expectations in his first year. Kind of like how Trayvon Walker got all that hype going up into the draft. Because in my opinion, Aiden Hutchinson he should have been first overall this entire time. Jaguars did not take him. I think it was a mistake they didn't take him. But Trayvon Walker got all his hype, and he didn't do anything really much last year. Hell, Sam Williams, a Cowboys 2nd or 3rd round pick, played better than him in my opinion. So, and that's how I feel about Tyree Wilson. He's going to be a guy that got a lot of hype, but should have easily been in the later first round. So, Raiders, I think they made a Raiders pick, obviously. I honestly thought they should have probably went Jalen Carter here. I think he'd be the safer option. But Tyree Wilson, Chandler Jones, right on each side. It's going to look... I'm hoping for something good out of it, but I don't think it's going to really show... I think this first year with Tyree Wilson, he could have some flashes, but I don't really see him doing much big things. If I'm wrong, I will admit it later down the road. So... 8th overall, the Atlanta Falcons. I looked at the roster. I had a feeling who they're going to take. And Bijan Robinson is not a Philadelphia Eagle, so clap for that. Right there as a Cowboys fan, I am relieved. Bijan, he was one of the running backs that, you knew was going to get picked high. And that's something I'm not really liking now is running backs being picked high, but Bijan's, I think was the right choice of picking high. He's gonna have some good seasons in him, and he's really gonna help this Falcons roster based off the running backs they already have on that roster, with Allgeier and pretty much that's it on the roster. But it looks like they're putting their full faith in Desmond Ridder, which I'm gonna let them have their faith in Desmond Ridder because I had the same faith for him last season. It didn't really look like that, but Bijan Robinson's really going to help that offense out. So, Next pick was supposed to be Chicago, but they swapped picks with the Eagles, and somehow, in some way, Jalen Carter dropped all the way down to the Eagles, and man, I was not happy about that one. I am. They somehow, last year they were able to get Jordan Davis. This year, now they got Jalen Carter. Fletcher Cox replacement, potentially. We don't know how many years Fletcher Cox has left in him. Probably another year or two before he starts getting down or he retires. Jalen Carter, I feel like, was the right pick. He's able to stop the run, stop the pass. He's able to get some pass rush in him a little bit. But all I know is that NFC East better be getting ready for that defense for Philadelphia. So, 10th overall pick, Chicago selected Darnell Wright. In my opinion, that was a reach. I think Darnell Wright if you would have traded back later on, he probably would have been there. Probably around the Jets, Steelers. Based off how the draft went, you could probably pick him later on. But Chicago, they took Darnell. I thought Peter Skoronski or Broderick Jones could have got picked over him, in my opinion. That was not the case. They have their faith in Darnell Wright. Their offensive line looks a lot better. Because if you look at this year's offensive line projected, it's supposed to be left tackle Braxton Jones, left guard Trayvon Jenkins, center Cody Whitehair, right guard Nate Davis, and right tackle Darnell Wright. That is way, way improved offensive line than what Chicago had last year. And if you look at it, Darnell Wright had 0 sacks let up in the last 18 games, which is a really upside good thing to look at right there. He could have the potential to be better than Peter Skoronski or Broderick Jones or Anton Smith. He has the potential to be. Only thing I do know is I don't think he'll be better than Paris Johnson. So he is easily one of the second best linemen in the draft. I think it was a little bit of a reach, but if they felt comfortable, if they've seen something that they don't see out of the other tackles, so be it. Honestly, it's gonna be. All I know is that offensive line's gonna be fun to watch. As a guy who played offensive line, it's gonna be fun to watch them next season. So for Chicago, Tennessee Titans, I think they should have took Will Levis, in my opinion, but they took Peter Skoronski. And if you really look at it, I think Peter Skoronski is probably the safest option based off their offensive line they have now because they got rid of Taylor Lewan and all that. Peter Skoronski, he's probably going to replace Taylor Lewan in their main role as a tackle. Only thing is I do think they probably should be looking in the quarterback, probably trade Tannehill, get rid of Tannehill. Look at what you want in running backs. Because Derrick Henry's going to get up there in age, and he's going to start falling off a little bit soon. Or I could be totally wrong, But I think this year it's either you go for a rebuild or you try to contend for a championship. Because I don't think you want to be one of those teams who are just right there in the middle. So, Peter Skoronski, I like the pick. So, Detroit obviously traded their pick to Arizona. They went a wide shocker here in Jahmyr Gibbs. I am going to be honest with you. I am not a fan of the pick at 12. They could have gotten him way later in 20s maybe. I think he could easily been, they could have waited until second round to get him. There's no need to pick him at 12. But, they picked him at 12. I honestly don't know what they found in Jahmyr Gibbs to make him think, they need to go right at him at 12 here. But, they could have been one of those guys that could look for a Lucas Van Ness, a Broderick Jones, a Jackson Smith, Nick Jigba. Anyone up there, and, they went Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm not a fan of the pick. I'm just really not, because, they already got 3 running backs on there, but they are looking to trade DeAndre Swift, so, and you'll have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery up there, so. Um, if he's able to lay up them expectations as a first round running back, then I'll be wrong. But right now, I'm not feeling that pick. Um, Green Bay Packers. I had them taken. I thought they were gonna go Jackson Smith here, but they went with Lucas Van Ness from Iowa. Love to see him as an Iowa fan. Um, Obviously, he had a phenomenal year last year with Iowa. Going with Green Bay now this year, he's really gonna shake up Green Bay's defense next year. I'm gonna guarantee you that. And he can, he was former hockey player, so he's gonna be able to hit as hard as he can. Um, and and like I said, he's gonna be one of those guys that shake up that defense. But Jackson Smith could have been easily that pick too. But I like the pick with Lucas Van Ness right there. So, Pittsburgh Steelers, they traded with the New England Patriots to get Broderick Jones, who easily, and honestly, I don't think he would have been there at 17. I honestly don't think he would have been because the Jets were right there behind him, and I think the Jets did need an offensive lineman. So easy to think that Steelers went right in front of him to pick him. I think that wasn't a coincidence. I think they really did that because they needed an offensive line. I don't think they can stick with Dan Moore anymore at fucking tackle. So, Broderick Jones, great pick. Love to see it there, and he's gonna be one of their main blockers for Kenny Pickett. So here with the Jets, I did not know who the Jets was gonna take here. I did not know what the Jets were gonna do. I was like, they don't have, there's not really any linemen that you can go here, except for Anton Harrison. But, that'd be a little bit of a reach, too, in my opinion. But, they did not trade out. They decided to take Will McDonald out of Iowa State. I was surprised seeing him go there. Over Nolan Smith and Miles Murphy. Shocking. And Will McDonald, he is going to, Robert Saleh is going to love trying to do things with him that, he's probably never seen or done before in Iowa State. So, Robert Saleh, love to see an Iowa type Iowa State, even though fuck Iowa State, but seeing a guy like not from Iowa State go first round like that is always great to see. So, Washington Commanders. I think they made another type of Washington Commander pick, and they picked Emmanuel Forbes over Christian Gonzalez and Deontay Banks. Emmanuel Forbes was really a shocking pick here over Christian Gonzalez because I had Christian Gonzalez, going right up high with Davon Witherspoon. My bad. I had him going up there with Davon Witherspoon, but Emmanuel Forbes, I nothing against Emmanuel Forbes. He did some great work over there where he in college, and he did some great things last year. Played great for them for Mississippi State, I believe is who it was. And Emmanuel Forbes, I feel like he's gonna do some good things up there with the Washington Commanders. He's gonna be one of their main corners in a couple years, in a year maybe. So. That was their pick. New England Patriots, good old Bill Belichick. He does not take a small white corner or a receiver. He takes a tall, lengthy corner in Christian Gonzalez. I feel like was the right pick after losing. I can't remember his name. The guy that went to the Chargers, Jonathan Jones, I think is who it was. After losing him and a couple other corners, who they had at corner last year was pretty not that great. So, Christian Gonzalez I feel like, is a need pick for them, going right there at 17. So, I feel like he's gonna go right in there, be one of the top corners in there. So, great pick for them. So. 18, probably the most heartbreaking pick of the draft, in my opinion, because I really wanted him to go to Dallas at 26. But his linebacker, Jack Campbell, got drafted by the Detroit Lions. Yeah, really disappointed with that right there. Jack Campbell, he is really, really good. He should have easily been a first-round pick. People had him projected going second round, but he easily should have been first-round pick. So, great to see him go to the Lions, though. I really hope Dallas would have gotten him. They didn't. Jack Campbell, he's really going to mess around with that defense up in Detroit. He's really going to fuck around with them, and he's really going to have some fun. Detroit's going to have fun with him, too. So, he's a guy that he's really physical. He can, get the pass. He can stop the run. He can do a lot of things a lot of linebackers can't do. And Jack Campbell, in my opinion, was the best linebacker in this draft. So, him going 18 Detroit, love to see it. So, Tampa Bay had was number 19. I had them taking Brian Branch, but Akaje Kancey, who recently broke Aaron Donald's record at the 40-yard dash at the Combine. He is drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and, at first I wasn't really feeling it, but then you really look at it, it's really needed after, they lost N'Kenem Suh. Shaquille Barrett's getting up there in age. They lost Jason Pierre-Paul. All of them are getting older in age, and, they're letting some of these guys go. Kancey was a right pick for them. So, Seattle Seahawks were at number 20. I thought honestly that they were gonna. For a second, I thought that they could potentially go Jackson Smith, but I didn't think they were gonna actually go with him because I'm like, could they really go with him even despite Tyler Lockett getting up there in age? And they went right with him. I think they should have gotten a guy that could stop the run. A defensive player, but they didn't. They went right there and got offense with Jackson Smith, who is arguably the best wide receiver in this draft class. So now him, DK, Tyler Lockett are right there, and now Geno Smith at quarterback. Unless Seattle drafts Levis and gets replaced later down the road. But now Geno Smith got some weapons around him, so you could really see that ball get launching around next year for them with Jackson Smith, Tyler Lockett, DK. It's gonna be looking good. So, Chargers, another receiver went off the board. Quentin Johnson. I thought Addison Jones was the better prospect. I was wrong, but I forgot. They like some of their bigger guys at Chargers stuff here. So Quentin Johnson, obviously he exploded last year with TCU. Got himself back up in the draft stock, and now he's gonna be joining Kellen Moore and Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. And the more I think about, the more I like to pick because how they're gonna do next year. And I had someone tell me yesterday that they think that they're one of them teams that are good, but they lose a lot. You know what I mean? It's just one of those teams that they're good, but that you feel like you lose a lot. So, Chargers, I think next year they're going to make the playoffs, obviously. Now they got a big three right there in receivers with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and now Quentin Johnson. If Keenan Allen and Mike Williams can stay healthy next year, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun for Justin Herbert, and he could potentially be in the MVP role race. So, Zay Flowers was the pick for Baltimore, which I thought Jordan Addison should have gone there. I had Jordan Addison in my mock draft. Zay Flowers, I knew he was getting up there in Boston College, with the pick, but he is one of those. He's a Steve Smith type of guy. He's small. He's a little small, but just because he's small doesn't mean he can't be good at football. You know what I mean? And Ravens have already dealt with a guy like Steve Smith at 5'9" and all that, and he can really. Zay Flowers is gonna, he's gonna join that group with Rashad Bateman, Odell, Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson, and now if you really think about it, it's probably good Lamar, is staying because now he's got his three receivers there. Mark Andrews, got to get a little better at defense now after losing Calais Campbell, but they're really Ravens. I think made the right choice picking receiver here. Minnesota Vikings, they were another team that needed a receiver, and they went straight receiver at Jordan Addison. In my opinion, second best receiver in the draft. After losing to Adam Thielen, I think it was probably the right thing to think about is receiver. And Jordan Addison's going to be the right guy to replace Adam Thielen. And I feel like him and Jay Jettis are going to they're going to make Kirk Cousins look really good next year. But you also got to think, how many years can Kirk Cousins keep doing this before he starts hitting decline? Interception-wise, he got more interceptions last year than the year before. And Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, is a good quarterback. But, the defense, how the defense was last year, it was, kind of losing the playoffs and all that stuff. So, Jordan Addison with the 23rd pick. And for the first time ever in the draft era, 4 receivers went in a row in the draft. So, that's pretty good. This pick was supposed to be the Jaguars, but they traded with the Giants here. And the Giants went Deonte Banks with their pick. And they were another guy that needed a receiver, but all the receivers that were really first-round worthy got picked. And Deonte Banks is also one of those corners that, in my opinion, was the third best corner in this draft. He really... Giants needed a corner that could go in there and, get the job done. I was thinking Brian Branch could potentially go there, take Julian Love's role. But Deonte Banks with this pick is going to be great. He's going to do some great things over there in New York. And it's going to be fun to watch New York face Dallas 2 times a year. So this pick was also supposed to be Jaguars, but they traded up with the Buffalo Bills. And Buffalo Bills, to join up with Dawson Knox, they drafted Dalton Kincaid with this pick here at 25. In my opinion, probably the best tight end in this draft. He can do a lot of things that a lot of the tight ends in this draft cannot do. He can fight for that ball and really get up there. And I feel like him with Josh Allen is gonna be some great things over there. Some people think they were doing it because Dallas was gonna draft him. I don't think Dallas was gonna even looking for him at the first place. But great pick by the Buffalo Bills. And then we get with Dallas Cowboys. With Nolan Smith still on the board, Miles Murphy still on the board, Joey Porter still on the board, Brian Branch. I thought they were going to go one of those guys, but they kind of, they talked about this guy earlier in the day, but I'm like, yeah, I don't think we're going to get him. But Dallas all day, apparently that was the guy that they were going to go with all along. Mozzie Smith out of Michigan. I love the pick. I forgot. I was slowly forgetting how we were not good against the run last year. And how much we need a guy like Mozzie Smith to go in there and fit that role, stop the run. A guy that, he's probably the best run stopper in this draft, in my opinion. So, Cowboys got Mozzie Smith, him, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Osa Digizua. It's just good. That defense is going to look phenomenal right now. And, Mozzie Smith, he's going to be wearing the 58 next year. So he wore his college number 58. He's wearing 58 for Dallas. Love to see it. And he's really gonna show some of them offensive linemen up in Dallas during practices why he was their first round pick. And and I feel like this was how it was last year. We took Tyler Smith. Everyone hated on it. And, Tyler Smith, he's doing pretty good. And I feel like that's how some people were with Mozzie Smith. But guess what? Mozzie Smith's going to show everyone next year why he was the right pick here. And if Jack Campbell is still if Jack Campbell's still on the board and Dallas didn't pick him, then we'd be having a different discussion, because that's where I would, just say that's who we need. But Mozzie Smith, he's a perfect size to get right in that role. Him, Osa Digizua, right there in the middle. And plus we also brought Jonathan Hankins back, who is really good at stopping the run. So boom, we got beef coming up at that offensive or defensive line. Jaguars with 27th pick. I got to give them credit on how they were able to trade back multiple times to get Anton Harrison, which they could have got him right there at 24, but smart ideas, trading back 2 picks to get, and still get the guy you wanted. And I feel like if Anton was gonna go with one of those two picks, they weren't gonna get him. And I knew Dallas wasn't gonna pick him, so it was probably safe enough that Anton went. He dropped all the way down to them, and Jaguars are one of those teams that they needed a guy like Anton to go in right in there and fix some of them offensive line issues and protect Trevor Lawrence. So I feel like it was a great pick, and they're gonna go on and I feel like they're gonna have a good draft. So Bengals, and again Nolan Smith, Joey Porter, Brian Branch, all of them are up there, but they went Miles Murphy from Clemson. I feel like it was a good pick for them. Filling up some defensive holes that they lost from last year. Going to be able to go after Mahomes. I feel like Bengals win defense just because of, they need to go after Mahomes next year. And how are you gonna do that? Defense. And Miles Murphy, I feel he's gonna be one of those guys that are really gonna go after Mahomes and give him hell. So. The Saints on the clock after that, they picked Brian Brees. I really like that pick by the Saints. They're one of those teams that need a defensive lineman, and they went right in there and got Brian Brees. And I feel like he's gonna do some great things for the Saints. So I like the pick. It's gonna be great for them. So, and then all the way up in 30, somehow Nolan Smith drops all the way down to freaking Philadelphia, and Philadelphia takes Nolan Smith. And I like the pick. I like the pick. I'm gonna give them their credit. I like the pick. But Nolan Smith falling from top 10 all the way down to 30 gave me concerns. It's really giving me concern because is there some concerns based off his injury from last season? Or if there's some other things that are not getting told as why he dropped so far, and that's why, and Eagles are they're gonna say whatever, he's talented, go right after him, because Philly they don't really care, so they're gonna take if he fucking talks a lot of shit and not that mature enough, they're gonna go right after him. I'm not saying Nolan Smith's not mature, but if if those stuff kind of come out, then I wouldn't be surprised, because Philly's one of those teams that kind of deal with it. But there's some concerns based off of him dropping that far to Philadelphia. They're pretty much filling their holes. They're pretty much filling everything up with younger guys now with Philadelphia. And I wouldn't be surprised if next year they go on and try to win the division again, and they try to win the Super Bowl, or try to win the Super Bowl now, based off what they did in this year's draft. So, with the last pick, the Kansas City Chiefs picked Felix Azuma, I think that's how you say his name, from Kansas State. Another good edge rusher that came off the board right there at the end of the draft. I love the pick. I feel like they needed a receiver, though, or offensive lineman, but I feel like they're going to fill those needs in later rounds. I'm just saying if the Chiefs are up and Josh Downs ain't picked, I feel like that's who they should go after. But, that's their call, so. I feel like the draft was great yesterday. I'm going to love seeing what they're going to do in the rest of this. The only thing is what's going to happen with Will Levis. Everyone had him going up first round, top 10, dropping all the way out of the first round, which could give me some concerns because, in my opinion, last year he didn't play great. And I've heard some rumors based off of, they had a concern with him, like, something Colin Coward said on his show about taking selfies or whatever, feeling like a goober or whatever. He called him a loser or whatever. So, I don't think those would be concerns, though. He didn't play great last year. Physical-wise, I think he looks better. I do think he looks a lot better than what he did a couple months ago. So, but Will Levis, he's going to be one of those quarterbacks that need work, kind of like Anthony Richardson, but I feel like he'd get that work in. So, great talking to you guys. Going to have a fun day with the rest of the draft weekend. And WWE draft, for example, that's coming up tonight. Here, I'm gonna review that in Rampage tomorrow or Monday. Also with my finished draft reactions. So, y'all have a good day. Y'all have fun. God bless you all, and have a nice day.